Welcome back to Analytical Strategy. Today, we're just going to touch upon the top 5 most iconic Final 3s in Survivor, focusing on returnee seasons. And keep an eye out for my next video, which will look at the top 5 iconic Final 3s from newbie seasons. In Survivor, there have also either been a Final 2 or a Final 3 that are able to pitch their case to the jury, but we are not taking that into consideration within this list. If you came third and you didn't get the chance to pitch your case to the jury, then you will still be included within this list. The returnee seasons of Survivor often result in some phenomenal casts, with big names able to make it deep into the game. Each of these Final 3s are iconic in their own way, and each player mentioned is hugely influential in the world that is Survivor. So firstly, we're going to be discussing the Final 3 from the first ever returnee season of Survivor, and that is of course Survivor All-Stars, with the Final 3 of Boston Rob, Amber and Jenna. So Rob firstly would probably be one of the most well-known survivors in the history of the game. So in terms of an iconic player, you really cannot get more iconic than Boston Rob. Within All-Stars, Rob was able to do something which completely shifted the game, and that was to bring his showmance turned wife in Amber to the end of the game with him, putting a huge target on future power couples of the game. Amber was able to take out the prize of the winner of this season, and as Rob was able to win Redemption Island, we were able to see both Amber and Rob evolve and both return together in Winners at War, which was a fantastic moment, with Amber having the longest layoffs between any season of any contestant, not playing at all between All-Stars and Winners at War. So the third contestant in Jenna unfortunately wasn't able to pitch her case to the jury due to it being a Final 2 this season, but Jenna was an OG, originally playing in Survivor Borneo, and she was able to make inroads with Rob, Amber and Rupert to get to the Final 4. Due to being unsure whether it would go to Rocks in the Final 4 if Jenna tied the vote, she turned on Rupert, which in turn may have cost her the game. If she went to Rocks and was successful, Jenna may have just won this season. Overall, they're really big names in Survivor history across the board, and it takes out my 5th spot in my most iconic Final 3s from a returnee season. So up next we have the Final 3 from Survivor Cambodia, and that was Jeremy, Spencer and Tasha, with Survivor Second Chance firstly being a fan voted in season. The Final 3 in most situations probably would have been very great, and it did result in a set of iconic players. Secondly, this season came very close after Cagayan, with Tasha and Spencer being two of the most popular players from that season, so seeing them both get to the end was very exciting to the viewers. So Spencer firstly to me played one of the most underrated games ever this season, and may have the best non-winning record from any contestant to ever play the game multiple times. He was one of the biggest targets leading into this season, as within pre-game interviews he was the most common name for the first target to go home. So to see him adapt his game, see people as people rather than pieces, he really played an amazing game and deserved to get to the finals. Tasha was a force within Cagayan, being one of the most dominant female challenge beasts ever, and she joined forces with Spencer and Jeremy to take control and get all the way to the end. The way she was able to climb from the bottom of the numbers when Savage and herself were switched onto the tribe with no camp or food was a credit to her, and she played that situation perfectly. And of course Jeremy, the winner, a fan favourite and the type of player that if he gets to the end he would win against almost anyone that has ever played the game. He's just that likeable of a person. Jeremy was able to obtain every single vote in this finale against big competition, and it really shows how good of a player and person Jeremy is. A truly amazing Final 3 from a truly amazing season. So up next we have the Final 3 of the most recent season of Survivor in Survivor Winners at War, with Tony, Natalie and Michele being able to represent these winners and all taking significantly different paths to get to the end. Tony was one of the audience's favourite players ever leading into this season, and was able to lay low in the early stages of the game before completely taking over and dominating the field to become the second two-time winner of Survivor. Then we had Michele, who is a social powerhouse in Survivor, but was on the outside of the votes a lot in this season, but was still able to skate by, and still to this day has never been voted out of the game. And if she ever gets the chance to return again, she may challenge Amanda for the most consecutive days ever played in Survivor history. And finally, Natalie, the first boot of this season, was able to battle her way back in from the edge, fight through the grueling conditions, win about 2,000 fire tokens, get advantages to win the challenge and purchase idols to assist her getting to the finale. You can't not include the only all-winner finale as one of the most iconic Final 3s ever. Each of these players made their mark in their original seasons and were able to battle it out against the best of the best to get to the finales again. They're all phenomenal players overall. So in our second spot, we have the final 3 from Survivor Micronesia, and that was of course Parvati, Amanda and Cirie. Now firstly, this was obviously a combination of a newbie and returnee season, but as all 3 finalists were all returnees, it made sense to include it within this list, rather than my newbie final 3 list coming out very soon. Secondly, this was another one where there was only a final 2, with Cirie being eliminated, by a twist that none of these castaways saw coming. But putting that aside, these 3 contestants are the definition of iconic in one of the most popular seasons ever. Parvati's transformation from Cook Islands to Micronesia was massive, thoroughly improving her game in all aspects, and being able to put together one of the most dominant alliances in Survivor history. Amanda came off a very impressive performance in Survivor China, and she was able to make back-to-back final tribals an amazing effort. And of course Cirie, maybe the most popular player to ever play the game, was able to do what Cirie does best and orchestrate a lot of big moves and really being the one to make a lot of the big decisions within this game. A truly iconic final 3, with the only disappointment being we couldn't see the 3 of them battle it out against the jury, but it was still a fantastic season nonetheless. And finally, the obvious first place has to be the Heroes vs Villains final 3 of Russell, Parvati and Sandra. For 2 winners to get to the end of the game in a non-all winners season is absolutely insane. Parvati, who we have already talked about, is obviously ranked as one of the best players of all time. The way she was able to fight from the bottom when she was one of the first targets the villains wanted out was amazing to watch, and this was arguably her best performance in her Survivor career. We have Russell, who just came off one of the most strategic games in Survivor history in Samoa, and he was also able to go back to back to get to the final 3 in consecutive seasons, which is an amazing effort and a credit to his game. And of course, Queen Sandra, who was able to do what she did best in her first 2 seasons, playing a low-key game and in turn becoming the first 2-time winner in Survivor history. These are 3 of the most well-known players ever, and the fact they were all able to make it to the finals is absolutely nuts. I can't see 2 winners making it to the end of a non-all winners season again, as since Sandra was able to get the 2-time win, winners have become an even bigger target than they were initially. This season definitely takes the crown for the best final 3 of all time, and that is a big part of why the season is commonly thought of as the best season of all time. If we ever see a final 3 this stacked again in the future, we know it is going to be an incredible season. So these are my top 5 iconic final 3s from returnee seasons, with my top 5 newbie final 3s coming out in a few days. Do you have any guesses who will be on it? If you are enjoying the content, remember to like and subscribe, as it is essential for the growth of the channel, and we really need your support to continue to push out more content. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Analytical Strategy signing out once again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.